the fresh new take on Marvel. Marvel douche. So fresh.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Everything's going nuts right now in this little comic book community of ours. Something crossed my mind recently as Twitter started really working itself up into a frenzy as people are trying to deal with a lot of corruption in the comic book industry right now. And it's not looking good. It's looking like it runs deep and like they just are going to always get away with it. But I have hope, y'all. I have hope. I have hope because it can't last that way forever. And you can't stay in the shadow forever either. It just doesn't work that way. And the free market is obviously going to make some big changes over the politics and the radicalism in our culture. And I noticed Gail Simone was chiming in on it and making these bizarre excuses for Mark Waid on Twitter and basically being a mean girl and a snarky, just a big pile of snark that she is. Oh, she's so funny with her little mommy one-liners. Something hit me suddenly about her, especially in this situation with diversity in comics. The comics YouTuber, in case you don't know, ran a successful Indiegogo campaign for his comic book called Jawbreakers, a graphic novel, to the point where the numbers showed that it was the number 3 graphic novel in America. He put a great team together for it, and he announced a publisher. The publisher was on board, and then a few days later, the publisher, Antarctic Press, pulls out and leaves it the most nebulous, vague PR statement on the subject I've ever read in my life. I've never seen anything more vague. Usually they just tell you what happened, what's going on. This was almost like some sort of weird like poem that a drunk guy is reciting as he's like falling asleep. It's this weird meandering mess. I don't understand what they were saying. And anyway, what we're finding is that Mark Waid had something to do with it. Comics Pro Mark Waid. We want to love you, Mark Waid, but you just won't let us. We want to appreciate you just as a creator, and you're just this weird little angry political tantrum throwing demon, really. I mean, shit, you're like double demon. You're George Costanza meets Ginger. Like, how much more, I don't know, can God hate you, you know? Anyway, so he contacted Antarctic Press, and then suddenly they pull the book. They don't want to do the book anymore, and Diversity Comics gets a phone call from the, I suppose, the head of their publishing, and he's crying, a grown man sobbing on the phone. Oh, that's nice. That's real nice. So that's a mess, y'all. But after seeing Gail Simone chime in on it, like,
whatever, who cares?
I realized something. It just hit me. Gail Simone and Diversity in Comics, when they started off in comics, not that different from each other. Hear me out. This website that you're looking at is called Women in Refrigerators. It was put together by Gail Simone and a team of feminists. They put together a website. They even made a creepy logo with a skull and like out of a female symbol. Okay? And they put together a website to criticize the entire comics industry, right? The Women in Refrigerators is a term coined by this team of activists where a writer uses a woman as a plot device, and they'll use her death or something bad happens to her, and it's supposed to make the plot move forward for a male character. And of course the implication is that's exploitive of women. That hurts women somehow. It's bad to have a male character lose someone he loves because blah, blah, bloobity, blee, blee, blah, kill the patriarchy. They don't know. They don't have any numbers to show us. It's just this weird, creepy kind of, it's a frame job, essentially. It's a frame job of, to make men look like everything we do is exploitive and hurtful of women, which is the name of the game for feminism. That's what they're all about. This website is a campaign, if you will, of criticism. It is telling the industry that it is fundamentally wrong to write stories in which a woman gets hurt or dies, or even if she loses her powers, and that it somehow hurts women, and that it's being done in service of just men's pleasure. We're supposedly taking pleasure in this. Now, I can tell my own personal anecdotal evidence when it comes to this. This idea was coined when a issue of Green Lantern came out. And the main character, Kyle, finds his love folded up dead in a refrigerator. And it's horrific. It's very serial killer movie. I believe he goes on this revenge thing for it. Classic storytelling elements here. Okay? I saw this in the comic book store randomly. I fumbled onto this page. I did not even read Green Lantern at the time, but this made me want to read Green Lantern. I thought it was interesting. I didn't take pleasure in anyone's death. I didn't think, oh, what a lame female, she's just a tool for the move the plot forward. The loss of this character was experiencing was more intense than what other books were showing, and it made me intrigued to find out what's going on and what's going to happen. It's called good writing. This webpage, these feminists, including Gail Simone set up, is calling it bad writing. It is a huge indictment of the entire industry and of men and how men create and write stories that we like, and that there's something wrong with them. Okay? That is an organized, criticism. That is a huge criticism. And these people were not in the industry. Remember, this is before Gail was ever in the industry. So what happens when they do this? It becomes pretty much a quintessential feminist criticism in all media to this day. I even overheard a chick who was working in a shop I was in talking about how she liked this show because it didn't have too many women in refrigerators. They dropped the term like it's just this normal thing now. It's not even real. It's a total frame job, all right? So that's their legacy, but it's more than that. What happened? Did the industry go, oh, you guys set up a website to criticize us and harass us? And, okay, yeah, we don't want to be seeing you guys around. No, that's not what happened. They gave Gail a job. They gave her a job. They gave her a job. She was on the outside looking in. She loved comics, just like diversity in comics does. She criticized something she saw as a problem. They gave her a job. And they didn't just give her a job. It doesn't end there, my friends. Since she's gotten that job, she's been fired from multiple books and walked off of books from both Marvel and DC. She is pretty much that's professional cancer as far as I'm concerned, and she just keeps getting jobs. They just keep her around. She's like a feminist token that they play every time feminism comes knocking on their door to hassle them. They're like, we have Gail Simone. Please don't hurt us. So it's really interesting to me. Diversity in comics. Let's talk about him and compare, shall we? Oh yeah, and that way I want to say one more thing about this woman in refrigerators thing. It's very interesting. They made a character list. Okay? This is the character list. Look at this. It's actually, I don't know, it's not that long. It is all the female characters and all the bad things that have happened to them. Dead, blinded, merged with Gemworld, blah, 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 became a power-hungry witch. One of her 3 bodies is dead, but she has 2 other bodies that are alive. She's soul-bound to her boyfriend. Oh no, call the police. Another one, Aqua Girl's dead. Arisia's dead. Multiple personality disorder, depowered, paralyzed, dead, abused, tortured, made infertile, depowered, dead. It looks scary if you don't criticize it and instead look at it like they want you to look at it, which is what feminism does with all of its ideas. Look, there's even Domino on here. Kidnapped, tortured, not dead. She was kidnapped and tortured. Oh my God. Men obviously hate women and we need to fix things. Oh, wait. Gail Simone's writing Domino right now. Whoops! They gave her Domino #1 at the new Marvel. The fresh new take on Marvel. Marvel douche. So fresh. Anyway. So this is so interesting. This is why I call it a frame job. Because this list is only showing you the women. It's not showing you what happens to men. It's bringing up everything they can about women being victimized. There's even at the end of the list, it's not here on my video here, but at the end, they have a character who devolved into a cat thing. Oh no. Oh my God. Something bad happened to a female character. Call the police. And then another character, her powers were severely limited for a story. Not even that she lost them. She didn't die. She wasn't kidnapped. She wasn't tortured. She wasn't raped. She just got her powers limited for a bit. Now, all of these things we're looking at here, these happen to male characters all the time in comics. And if these people read comics, they know that. But they didn't care. They were dishonest. They don't have integrity. They're zero integrity players. And they made this list to freak you out. That's what feminism does. They only show you part of the equation, but they present it like, wow, we're pulling back the curtain. Ooh, look at this raw, uncomfortable truth. No. And that's very tasty to people. It's very intriguing. If you don't criticize or find anything to compare it to, you will fall for it. And you will be an idiot. You will be a tool. Don't fall for it. But yes, this is the frame job, okay? Now let's compare it to diversity in comics. He was critical of what's going on in comics and also said it had fundamental problems. He said that it had problems in terms of stories and characters going downhill because they were putting politics before they were putting good story and character. And they had gone too far left and become too radicalized in the culture there. Which also led to other problems, hiring people who weren't right for the job just based on their identity, which then they churned out bad work and the cycle continues. Bad juju all around, people. So, what do we have? A YouTube where he makes videos with his phone, criticizing comics, making jokes, mocking things. You know, having a good time sometimes, and a lot of times finding comics that he thought he was going to hate that he actually really enjoyed, and recommending comics from people that he doesn't necessarily even like that much. But if they made a good comic, he always stayed true to, I'm going to recommend it to the fans, to the followers. He always had integrity about this. And then to be fair to SJWs, because they think his Twitter is like, you know, one of the four horsemen of apocalypse. He has a Twitter where he's critical and hard on SJWs and calls them out. He's not nasty per se. He actually says things that make good points more so. And he points out the corruption, you know? He points out their bad behavior, you know, and they hate him for it. Okay, so he's critical of the industry too. Well, let's compare the two. Fucking Gail Simone makes a whole website which to this day has now become, you know, a commonly used phrase when feminism or feminists like Anita Sarkeesian and her ilk are critiquing the hell out of everything. Women in refrigerators. The woman in a refrigerator? Holy shit. Okay? The comics industry gives her a job. They give her a job. And they make her unfireable. Okay? When she got fired from Batgirl, her fans came screaming about it, and they hired her back on, which was a mistake because now Gail thinks she's wearing a bulletproof vest. Yes, I know when you see pictures of her, it looks like she's wearing a really thick, heavy bulletproof vest. She's not. That's just who she is. But Diversity in Comics criticizes the industry for very legitimate problems, not fake framed problems that are political. He criticizes that are, you know, political in nature. He criticizes them for being overly political, and he gets blacklisted. He gets harassed. He gets threatened. He gets his book not just boycotted, and you know, and people like pros are applying pressure to other pros to not support him, but he actually gets to announce his dreams coming true, and he's getting published by a publisher. And then within a few days, they are intimidated and bullied. And pretty much, I would say, laws were broken when it comes to threatening them. And so they won't put out his book. His book gets yanked. Okay? One person says, you got problems, and my politics believe this, my ideology believes this, gives her a job. Someone else says the ideology's causing problems. You know, it's a big problem around the industry. Look at how bad the quality is. He gets blacklisted. He gets slandered. I just want you to think about that. I just thought it was an interesting comparison how Gail Simone and Diversity Comics at one point in time in the past weren't that different. They were critics looking into an industry that they loved. One of them has been given a full-on career, and the other one, people are working around the clock to make sure he's not even allowed to publish his own successful Indiegogo book. He's gonna publish it though. and this might be history one day. When I watched that show, what is it? The History of Comics. Robert Kirkman put it on. Cool show. I really wonder if we're gonna have to have an episode someday in the future where, you know, these people were pushed out, they were attacked left and right, and they said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna make my own comics." And then something big started. This is exciting, people. It does suck because they ruined the fun. We should have just been having fun. We should have just been celebrating this and feeling good. But they couldn't allow that, could they? They couldn't just mind their own business and go, well, I don't like this artist. I don't like his book. They could have criticized him. They could have criticized him all day on Twitter or whatever. And when his book comes out, roast the fuck out of it. He would probably welcome it more than anyone else would welcome it. He'd be like, he might even link to the videos roasting it someday. It'll be fun. But this whole collusion to get stores to not carry his book and then bullying and applying pressure to people to reject him at every level, to squash this guy's dream, to come after an indie book this hard, to where a high-profile writer, Mark Wade, is calling your company to be like, okay, no, you can't do this. You can't have him. Who knows what kind of threats he made? From what I've been told, they were threats not just to their company in the industry of comics, but to jobs they had outside of comics, as if they couldn't get any more mentally ill people. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to say. See you online, and thanks for watching. I'm Rise Again. Death to Ming.